Hi, everyone. I'm attorney Donna DiMaggio Berger, and this is Take It to the Board, where we speak condo and HOA. Community association life can be a real pressure cooker. Board members face tough decisions, homeowners deal with unexpected assessments, and professionals like attorneys juggle constant demands. The one thing we all share? Stress. But what if the key to managing it isn't just in your mindset, but in your meridians? Today, we're diving into the ancient practice of acupuncture with Dr. Tai Johnson. Dr. Tai has a doctorate in acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, from the Atlantic Institute for Oriental Medicine. She has devoted her career to providing holistic, patient-centered care while mentoring future generations of acupuncturists. As someone who has personally experienced the benefits of her work, I'm excited to explore how acupuncture and Eastern medicine can help us handle the stress that comes with community living. Get ready to rethink your approach to wellness. The goal today is to give you some practical tips on how to manage the stress in your busy lives. So, Dr. Tai, welcome to Take It to the Board.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, I have to tell you, I was a little stressed getting here this morning due to heavy traffic. So, as I said, I'm probably going to be calling you later for an acupuncture session.
Well, we're all going to learn a little something today, aren't we?
We are. So why don't we start with the main principles behind acupuncture and how it helps with stress relief?
So acupuncture is the understanding that everything is energy, life force, or chi, right? So I had a teacher who said a dead tree has no chi. So that was the way of us understanding that it's what animates us, right? What gives us life. So the chi is supposed to be flowing freely throughout our body. However, different lifestyle effects, stressors, different things like that will create blockages in your chi, even physical trauma. You stub your toe, you have pain in your toe for a certain amount of time until it's able to move freely again. So the idea is with acupuncture, you are helping the free flow of the chi, which is getting your body back into homeostasis where it should be if we didn't have all of these external factors.
So I first tried acupuncture years and years ago on a cruise, Dr. Tai, and to me, I felt nothing. Does that mean my chi was completely aligned? I mean, I literally walked out. It was my first ever acupuncture session. I felt nothing, didn't feel different. But now, as I said in the intro, I've had sessions with you and I do feel more relaxed. So is it always the same experience? Or are there times when you may walk away from an acupuncture session and feel like, you were just sleeping for 20 minutes?
Well, the idea with acupuncture is that it's putting you into what's called parasympathetic. So you have sympathetic, which is fight or flight, which most of us are all too familiar with. And then you have parasympathetic, which would be the antithesis of that. So with the parasympathetic, that's rest and digest. So if you went into an acupuncture session feeling a certain amount of stress, and then you were able to go into parasympathetic and relax, that would be a benefit within itself, because now your body is able to go into a restful state and heal what it needs to heal. So is that something that you're going to say, hey, I went into the gym, I did one sit-up, I didn't feel any, it's a muscle that we need to flex because we are always so much in that fight or flight that a lot of times after the acupuncture session, you just feel relaxed.
But you could go in relaxed.
You could go in relaxed.
Right. So yes. That's something too. It doesn't always, I wanted to ask you that. It doesn't always have to be about fixing something. It could be about preventing something too, right?
Prevention is the main mechanism behind the acupuncture. So with the prevention, we're keeping your body at an optimal rate so that if there is an issue that comes in, an external pathogen, say somebody sneezes right in your face, your body is able to fight it because your immune system is in a good place. If you are constantly under stressors, like we are in a capitalist society, we do have a depletion of our immune system. So if you're generally healthy, you might not need acupuncture on a weekly basis. You could do a monthly maintenance type thing, which is what I like to do. But if there is something happening, say I do catch a cold, I will do several treatments in a row.
How come sometimes I go in and I get like 8 needles and sometimes I need 30? How do you
So I also teach at the acupuncture college now, and I tell the students a lot that once you learn all of these concepts and you have an understanding within yourself, then you create your own techniques and style as how you do it, right? So it's kind of like when you go to those places where you're like, everybody's painting the same picture, like one of those places, and everybody's
Oh,
painting the same
the
picture,
sip
but
and draw, the sip and draw.
correct,
Yes.
right? But everybody looks a little bit different. So everybody has their style. Some people are a little more aggressive with the needles. Some people are more gentle. I tend to be very gentle because I'm not a big fan of needles, ironically. Some people are afraid of them. So I try to be as gentle as possible while still creating an effect.
So somebody comes to you, Dr. Tai, brand new patient, never had acupuncture before, but they're feeling very stressed. They've always been interested in this modality. Where do you start with them?
Well, as a physician, the way we do our diagnostics is through the tongue and pulse. So we're going to ask you to look at your tongue. And with the tongue, there are different places on the tongue that give us information, and the coloring of the tongue, the size of the tongue. Is it swollen in your mouth? Do you have teeth marks? Is there redness on the tip? What's your coating looking like? And that'll give us an idea. I call it a Chinese MRI because it'll give us an idea of all of your internal organs just based on your tongue. So you don't even have to tell me half the things. Once I look at your tongue, I go, oh, how's your digestion? Oh, it looks like you don't sleep very well. Like all of these things are kind of laid out for us with this, thousands-year-old Chinese practice.
Tell us, we're all going to be looking at our tongues after listening to this
Correct.
episode. What color should it be?
It should be a light pink with a thin white coating. That would be the ideal.
And if it's red or if it's you're a
So,
little inflamed or
so with Chinese medicine, everything is within relationship to the other. The yin and the yang, I'm sure most people have heard of or are familiar with that concept. So it's hot, it's cold, it's up, it's down, it's left, it's right, it's in, it's out, right? And so we're trying to find the balance and find that homeostasis. Where's the middle road, right? So we're trying to keep you from having like a huge gap to having like a small gap, because we're always going to have variations throughout the day, but we want to make sure that the variations aren't super, super high, super, super low. So if your tongue was very red, that would indicate heat within the body. And so in Chinese medicine, anything that happens outside of the body can happen inside the body. So heat, wind, fire, dampness, all of these things can happen outside, but it can also happen inside. So the red tongue would indicate heat, a pale tongue would indicate blood deficiency, a swollen tongue would be qi deficiency, and so on and so on.
so you've looked at the tongue, you've looked at the
Mm-hmm.
pulse. Now you're going
Mm-hmm.
to get started with the acupuncture session. Can you just, kind of walk us through where you place the needles?
Well, it all depends on what I see on the tongue. So if I saw, a very red tip per se, that area, the tip of the tongue indicates the heart. And that doesn't mean that you have heart disease. That means that there's something happening energetically with the heart. And it usually indicates anxiety, right? Overthinking. And so this is going to be somebody who's very cerebral. So I would start with points that would get you out of your head and more into your body so that you could have a more relaxed state. Yin Tong is a very popular point. Most people know it. We call it the glass of wine, and it's right in between your eyebrows. It's your third eye. So that's usually where I start with that. And then I like to do auricular points, especially when I'm doing community acupuncture. I don't have access to the whole body. So the ear is a microcosm of the whole body. So there are certain points on the ear that can put you into a parasympathetic state.
You've done that for me. And then you did this little seeding in the ear.
Yes.
Now, can you explain what that is?
So that's like an acupuncture treatment to go. We have these little seeds that we place again on the acupuncture points that we tape to your ear. So you can keep those for several days. And within those several days, we encourage you to stimulate those points to remind your body, hey, everything's okay. Hey, everything's okay. Or work on my digestion, or, whatever it is that we put the points in for.
So this is Take It to the Board. I said in the introduction, we have people listening all over, and we have people in the community association industry. I think when you and I first met and you asked me what I did, and I said, I represent condo boards and HOA boards. You said, oh, that explains your red, swollen, inflamed tongue.
Very likely. Very likely.
Let's get started. So let's say we're got so many people who are stressed right now, Dr. Ty. I've been
Yeah.
doing this a long time. There's always been stress and tension in community associations. Whenever you have multiple people living together, you're going to have differing opinions. I just had an emergency meeting yesterday with a full board. The board was just not functioning well. There were personal issues. There was even a death threat. And we
Oh
got them in
my.
one room. And we worked it out. I probably should have had you there doing a little auricular
Yeah.
acupressure and acupuncture with them. But if somebody were to want to use this as a stress relief modality, how does it compare to like just getting a massage? Because I think most people are very comfortable. They understand getting a massage feels good. It's a method of stress relief. I think acupuncture for a lot of people, they don't know it, they don't understand it. They may be a little afraid of it. Like you said, I don't like needles either.
Right.
So, what's the difference between those modalities in terms of stress relief? The massage, which everybody knows, and acupuncture.
Well, interestingly enough, I was a massage therapist before I became an acupuncturist. And so I understood massage as being a very beneficial treatment, not only for muscular pains and aches, but also as a soothing, touch is healing, right? So like when we're feeling really stressed out, all we want is like a hug from mom, that kind of thing. So touch is very healing, but I saw acupuncture as kind of like another step forward where not only can I help in that way physically, but I can also create changes within the brain chemistry with the acupuncture. So I think that they're both beneficial. I work with massage therapists. A lot of times when I give an acupuncture treatment, I can recommend like, hey, let's get you a couple of treatments with massage as well. I think they work synergistically. I can't say that one's better than the other. If you're doing either one of them, it's a benefit to you. Um, I fell in love with acupuncture as I saw it work for my father as he was in his transition time, and it shifted my perspective of it. He was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and then the radiation actually burned a hole through his large intestine. And I was just newly in acupuncture school, and I had learned the large intestine meridian, which is on the arm. And I started massaging those points. He was in a lot of pain when I started, and he was able to fall asleep with me just massaging those points on his arm. And I said, wait a minute, there's something really amazing about this because it works by sending signals to the brain, so that to me, I think they're both amazing, and I'm not going to poo poo one or the other.
Yeah, I mean that's an amazing story, and you're right. A lot of people do look to acupuncture as pain relief, right? I think even more. You're a doctor of Eastern medicine, but I think even a lot of Western doctors now, right, Western
Yeah.
practitioners now do refer patients to acupuncture for pain relief. Correct?
Yeah, I also have a lot of patients who are nurses and physicians who come to us when all else has failed. A lot of times we are the default, but I think that the mindset and understanding around acupuncture is shifting, especially since I began in the early 2000s to now, where it's a lot more sought after because people are understanding, hey, this actually works.
How long do the effects last, Dr. Ty?
It depends. So acupuncture is accumulative. The more you do it, the less you need it. So in the beginning, if you had an acute problem, hey, you woke up and you have a stiff neck, I would say, hey, let's get several treatments in a row in a short amount of time. And once your pain level goes down, then we can go on to, we can back off a little bit. A lot of times the first treatment might be, maybe 24 hours. And then other times I could put one needle in and that's it. My mom had sciatica. I put one needle in her butt and that was it for her. She never had it again. So
One
you
needle,
never
one
know. Yeah,
time.
one time. And so it's really a crapshoot as far as how it's going to work for you. Also, if I put you into parasympathetic and everything's nice and beautiful, and then you go out in traffic and drive like a crazy person, it's like there's a balance. There's a lifestyle that's there. Also, if we're working on digestion and you have, dairy issues, you can't have dairy, but you go home and you eat a tub of ice cream. There's I do my
Going to
part, but you
counteract
have to do your
positive.
part.
Yeah, you're
Right.
going to counteract the positive effects. I still don't understand how putting strategically placed needles in my body affects the nervous system? Can you help me
That's
understand?
absolutely, I can. So that is definitely a question that we as Western society, we need to see the facts, we need to see the data, like how does that actually work? Whereas, like I said, acupuncture has been around for thousands of years. So what they're doing now, when I was in the doctorate program, I heard of a study where they were doing MRIs. And so they would put someone in an MRI machine and then they would put a needle into, Li4, which is in the hand. That's a pretty popular one for headaches, right? Because it's a master point for your head and your face. So they would put a needle into Li4 and then they would see what parts of the brain lit up. So we're communicating directly with your nervous system.
Wow. Once I had a needle, it started vibrating almost. What would that be? Is that just we hit a certain like pressure point, or
Yeah. So
full disclaimer, you didn't do this to me. Once,
I don't think it was a bad thing, Donna.
it was, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a good thing.
Yeah. So again, working with the nervous system is what controls motor control, right? So when we're sending signals, signals are coming back. It's a loop. I'm talking to you, you're talking back to me. So that could be the mechanism. If you asked, one of my Chinese practitioner doctors, they would say that's the qi. But I would say that that is your nervous system working.
You kind of touched on it before. This is holistic, right? So
Yeah.
acupuncture is one part of the puzzle. The other
Mhm.
would be you talk to your clients about diet and nutrition, lifestyle, sleep, all the other stress management tools.
Yes. There's a lot. There's a lot. Again, holistic is looking at the whole picture. So it's like if I do my part, but you don't come and do your part, we don't have a full functioning, treatment going on. If we're working on insomnia and you're up late on your phone scrolling through TikTok, you know, there's only so much I could do, you know? So did you just do the side eye?
Yeah, we're only catching audio, but yes, I did a bit of a eyebrow raise with that. I mean, look, again, I'm going to get back to our audience, which, you have people in very high stress jobs and
Yeah.
high stress roles. So there's only so much they can do. And by the way, a lot of these are retired people. So it's,
Yeah.
who have decided to jump into these leadership roles in their communities. And it comes with a certain level of stress. So for people who can't avoid the stress associated with their lifestyle, okay? I'm
Hmm.
not talking about diet, nutrition, but they can't escape the stress in terms of the roles that they play during the day. Any recommendations?
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, it goes back to also you're the only one in there, right? Like you're the only person inside of you. So that means that you actually do have the control. And it's about watching that internal dialogue. But it's hard to catch it a lot of times because we're so accustomed to it. We've told our mind, keep me safe, right? From childhood, keep me safe, mind. So then the mind goes, oh, what's that? Who's that? Who said that? Why'd you say it like that? I have a ketchup on my shirt, all of that kind of stuff. And it's like a constant dialogue of, is everything okay? Is everything okay? Is everything okay? So reframing that, telling your mind, hey, you did a great job keeping me safe. I'm still here, but now I'm an adult and I have autonomy, right? And if I need to leave or I don't feel safe, I can leave, and being able to catch that. So that's the other part of it. Do I even catch it when I start spiraling out of control in this mental turmoil that we all go through, right? Everybody's guilty of it. So meditation is a huge one. And a lot of people are afraid of meditation because they say, oh, I can't meditate. My mind won't shut up. But it's not about telling your mind, be quiet. It's about observing that that's separate than you. That's my mind I'm watching. So my mind is a tool that I'm using. And if I stay too close to that mind, it's like, staring too close at the TV, right? So you feel like you're inside the TV. But if you're able to just take a few deep breaths and say, hey, I've noticed that my mind is racing, that doesn't mean I'm racing. And I can separate myself from that and give yourself some space from that. And becoming the observer is what helps us kind of manage that overthinking, overdoing, over whatever stress, the observing.
Oh, we've never talked about meditation. Do you teach meditation as well?
I do not teach meditation, but I am a huge proponent. And if you ever want to do meditation, just get on the YouTube Okay, there are so many. There are so many meditations. And for a lot of the patients, I just say, hey, find somebody that you like the sound of their voice. Find somebody that is going to talk you through something. Because a lot of times when we're starting to flex that muscle of the observer versus the mind, we need somebody to keep our mind busy. So if you do a guided meditation, you can listen to, somebody saying, hey, relax your shoulders, relax your jaw. And so you have something that your mind can focus on while you're focusing on your breathing and actually letting some of this stuff go.
A lot of the points you just mentioned were, I was listening to another one of my favorite podcasts, which is Mel Robbins. And she was talking about how people can disrespect each other and how to handle that. So I do feel that in my line of work, where people do get very riled up is disrespect, right? If they're at a board meeting and they can't be heard, or somebody's using profanity, people are talking over each other, immediately it's that I'm being disrespected, the tension rises, and we're off to the races from there. One of her key points was protect your energy. And what are we talking about? Energy.
Right.
So it's like some things you have to just let it go. It's not worth expending a great deal of energy on. Would you agree with that?
100% I would, because, our energy is our only commodity, right? Like if you don't have your health, you have nothing, that kind of thing, and a lot of times, like I said, overthinking, that will spend your energy, that will make you chi deficient. But also I read something that said you're either coming from a place of fear or love. So I think that a lot of times when people are, getting riled up like that, it's a fear. Like, is it going to be okay? Am I safe? That kind of dialogue. So being able to have that quiet time where you're meditating and you're telling yourself, even affirmations are good too. Hey, I am safe. I am loved. I am okay. Because a lot of times the dialogue is, is it going to be okay? Is everything okay? I'm afraid, that kind of thing. So shifting that dialogue also kind of turns off all of those warning signals that are happening within the brain that make us feel unsafe ultimately.
There are people that you're one of them. I'm just going to say it, where you're around them and you just feel better because they have great energy. Yeah, you
Thank
are.
you.
You absolutely have that effect. Let me ask you, Dr. Tai, does chi or energy, does it have to naturally be depleted the older you get?
So there is a practice in Chinese medicine called Qigong. That's also a great one, especially for older folks who are not able to do more vigorous workouts and things like that. And it's a practice. I'm not proficient in it. My friend Dr. Walker is fantastic with it. If you ever want his phone number, I'm happy to share it. But it's a way of harnessing that energy and really focusing it and being aware of it, because once you put your attention on something, then you notice it more. It's like I've been obsessed with getting a white Volvo, so I see them everywhere. I'm like, oh, there's my Volvo, there's my Volvo. So that's the thing. So if you're focusing on your chi, then you feel it more. And I mean, there are some people, you are actually one of those people where I'm like, you're how old? That can't be, right? Because I think that energy, that life force is very strong within you, and that is the chi, is what's nourishing your skin, your vibrancy, making you so incredibly beautiful.
Oh, well, that is very nice. That is very nice of you to say. But so we can protect. It's not just, look, at some time we're all going to run out of chi, right? It's the cycle of life. But it doesn't need to be such a steep drop off, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Absolutely. So I actually somehow by default ended up specializing in geriatrics. I just so happened to resonate with the older community. And my oldest patient is now 92 years old, and he is fully cognitively functioning, 92 years old. He walks into the office. He's got a great sense of humor. He is on it and popping. So, I don't think that 92 has to look decrepit and, invalid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's encouraging. My mom is 92. My dad is going to be 96. They're stubborn and they're going, but they don't have the vibrancy that you're talking about. I would love to have them embrace something like acupuncture, because my dad's in a lot of pain. He's in constant pain. But again, he's the type of person, he's never going to do that. So are there other modalities people can use other than, if they just can't do acupuncture? What else would you recommend?
massage, qigong, meditation, all of those things help us kind of turn off that panic that happens in our brain. Even with pain, we start to panic, right? What is this thing? Is it going to be here forever? Am I ever going to get better? So all of that feeds into the pain loop as well. So I think that those three things, I mean, there's acupressure is an option if
Oh, acupressure. Let's talk about that, and then breath,
yeah,
because I think breath work is easy because everybody breathes, right?
right.
Meditation is, even me, and I've been practicing meditation for years, and I'm still not good at it. It's intimidating, but breath work, right? That's easy. That's pretty accessible.
Well, one thing that people don't realize is a lot of times when you're breathing, we're breathing in our chest, right? We're doing these shallow breaths, and that can contribute to neck pain, shoulder pain, because everything is up here, And so just focusing your breath and letting it go down deeper into your stomach is just that mental shift can help calm you. So yeah, everybody can do breath work. But look at a baby, watch a baby when it's sleeping. The belly is going up and down, not the shoulders,
Yeah. Everything about the baby is comfortable unless they're screaming for
Right. And unless
hungry.
they're hungry or sleepy. There's always just a few mechanisms though, but that follows us through life too, right?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
mentioned acupressure. Talk
hmm
to us about that.
So acupressure is just using the acupuncture points and applying pressure as opposed to putting a needle in. So any place that you are feeling pain, just applying pressure to that area can help relieve the pain.
So busy professional. I'm sitting at my desk later. Are there certain places where I can be applying pressure that's going to affect maybe my digestion or my brain, different organs? Are there different pressure points that somebody sitting in an office can apply to themselves for stress?
Yes, the one that would encompass everything would be to just massage your ear. Because, like I said, it's a microcosm of your whole body. So, if you're massaging your ear, you're basically working on your everything, your internal, external, mental, emotional. Yeah, massage your ear. It's easy. Nobody will notice.
I do that. I actually love to have my ears massaged.
Yeah, yeah. People think you're just flirting with them.
All right, that is a really good takeaway. We've been talking, I know a lot of people talk about pain relief, physical pain relief when they're thinking about acupuncture. Can it
Mhm.
also help mental pain? Somebody's sad,
Absolutely.
somebody's depressed,
Yeah.
somebody's afraid.
Yeah, so again, it's holistic. So even when we're working on your physical pain, we're also working on the mental, emotional. We're also working on the external stressors, those kind of things, because it's not just this one-sided issue that you have, right? So even pain in different locations of your body can indicate different thoughts and beliefs that you have. Like lower back pain has to do with feeling unsupported. So I like to tell people, a lot of times with that lower back pain, the call's coming from inside the building. So it's not necessarily that your spouse is not supporting you or, your family is not, or your friends. It's more about your internal dialogue and saying like, I have to do everything myself. That's usually the mechanism behind it mentally, emotionally. With the shoulders, the left shoulder is repressed grief, the right shoulder is repressed anger. Anything from the knees down has to do with not being able to move forward. Anything with your neck is like not wanting to see your surroundings. So even when you're telling me, hey, I slept funny, it's my neck, it's like, uh-huh, uh-huh, what else is going on?
What about
Yeah.
addiction issues, Dr.
Absolutely. Uh-huh. Yep. There's two protocols. There's one called the battlefield and the other one called NADA. Those are two that help with, well, the NADA in particular helps with addiction. Battlefield helps more with like a PTSD. We use that a lot on veterans. But the NADA protocol is 5 points in the ear that have been proven to be effective on treating addiction. I do have one of my best friends, Dr. Tahina. You might have met her before, but she worked in a clinic, a drug rehab clinic, doing the NADA protocol.
Well, I wanted to ask you, you work with a nonprofit that supports
Mhm.
veterans suffering from PTSD. Can you tell us about your work with that organization?
Well, currently I work with Eastern Acupuncture and Wellness, Dr. Jennifer Cruz. But in 2020, she came to us and said, "Hey, I want to start a nonprofit. COVID is running rampant, and the stress and anxiety is through the roof." And we said, "Okay, great. That sounds awesome. How are we going to keep ourselves safe? But sure, let's figure it out." So we rented a space, and we were able to fit 10 chairs, spacing them apart. We were wearing our masks. We did all the things we needed to do. And it really took off, and it's still thriving, which I think is just so amazing. So what we do is we offer community acupuncture, community style acupuncture, and that way it's affordable. There's a lot of people who don't have insurance, and it would be considered a luxury for them to get acupuncture. So we said, hey, how do we make it accessible to everybody? So we do it in a group setting. Currently, I take up to 5 patients at a time. And for our veterans, any veteran that we have, they go through the VA, so they're able to see us at Eastern Acupuncture, which is our for-profit, and they get a certain amount of treatments. But once their treatments run out and they're waiting for another series, they're more than welcome to join me in community acupuncture pro bono.
And I have participated in your community acupuncture. I paid, and let me tell our listeners, so you're in a room, you're in a comfortable lawn chair. Dr. Tai comes over, she does her thing, puts her needles in, turns out the lights. It's very nice. And it is just, it's just really peaceful. And it's amazing. That is one of the things that made me such a fan of you and Eastern Acupuncture, is because you were doing this as a community service for vets. And I assume that there's a lot of scientific data on how it does help vets with PTSD.
Absolutely, it does. Again, it goes back to how is it working in the body? It's putting you back into parasympathetic. So, if anybody's in sympathetic, it's somebody who's been in a war zone, So that fight or flight is really hard to turn off, and even the mind chatter and am I safe? Can you imagine? So yes, it's very effective. I have some of my veterans are my absolute favorite people.
Okay, so Dr. Tai, is there anything else that you want to leave our listeners with when it comes to acupuncture?
Yes, try it. Just give it a try. It's not going to hurt you, especially if you come to me. I'm very gentle, but give it a try. See if it's something that resonates with you. You never know until you try.
Love that. And I was going to echo those sentiments as well, to say that, look, the stress that comes with community living, it's not going anywhere. It's going to be here. So why not try a modality that might help you cope with it a little better, at least? Dr. Tai, where can people find you?
Oh, I'm at Eastern Acupuncture and Wellness in Plantation, Florida. And I also do the acupuncturist community style acupuncture there.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You may be seeing me later today, due to my traffic related stress this morning. But I really want to thank you for coming on.
It was such a pleasure, Donna. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to follow and rate us on your favorite podcast platform, or visit takeittotheboard.com for more ways to connect.